Title: She hunted the alien for revenge, only to learn it had been watching her since childhood. The stars above burned cold and uncaring as Sergeant Lyra Vance stood at the edge of the wreckage. A twisted hull fragment jutted out from the scorched earth, still hissing steam in the aftermath of atmospheric re-entry. The alien ship, its ship, had finally been dragged down. Lyra's grip tightened on the plasma rifle slung over her shoulder. 15 years. 15 years of tracking one particular creature across the war-torn sectors of human space. 15 years since the night her family's outpost on Proxima B fell silent. When she was 12, hiding under her mother's bed, she had heard the shriek of her little brother silenced mid-breath. She never saw the killer, but she remembered the sound it made. A click, a purring rasp, and something else, something like a voice not meant for human ears. Now, it was finally over. She climbed into the husk of the escape pod, flashlight beam sweeping across broken controls and bloodless walls. Then, movement. A tall figure stepped into the beam. It didn't attack. It stood still, watching her with gleaming, multifaceted eyes. It wore what looked like a cloak of woven shadows. Its thin limbs were folded behind its back, almost reverent. "You finally came, Lyra Vance," it said in perfect English. Her heart hammered. She raised her rifle. "Say that again." It tilted its head, insectoid mouth barely moving. "Lyra Vance, born on Proxima B, June 14, daughter of Marius and Neela Vance, sister of Colonel Kieran Vance. You have grown well." "How do you know those names?" she demanded. "Because I have watched you since before you understood what I was." She fired. A searing bolt struck the wall beside its head. "Lies. I saw what your kind did. I lived it. You survived because I let you," it said calmly. "I disobeyed orders." Lyra froze. It stepped forward, slowly, unarmed. "I was part of the strike team. Your colony was designated infected, deemed beyond saving. I was ordered to neutralize all threats. I chose not to kill you. I marked you." Her finger tightened on the trigger, but she didn't fire. "Why?" "I saw potential." Her voice was venom. "You spared me to watch me? Like an experiment?" It looked down, almost regretful. "No, I spared you because I remembered a human child who tried to shield her brother with her body, who sang to calm him in the dark. You showed a strength we did not believe your kind capable of." Lyra's pulse slowed, her grip trembling. "You killed my brother." "Yes," it said quietly, "and I will never ask your forgiveness. But I watched over you. I sabotaged attacks meant to erase you. I left you weapons, coordinates, clues. I made you strong enough to find me. You have hunted well." The weight of the years, the blood, the anger, it pressed on her chest like a collapsing star. "You wanted me to come for you?" "Yes," it said, "because the ones who ordered Proxima's extermination are coming again. But this time, they do not see your kind as a threat. They see you as prey. You are not ready." "And you think I'll help you stop them?" she spat. It took a step back, unflinching. "I only hope you listen before they arrive." A bitter silence grew between them. Then Lyra lowered her rifle. Not because she forgave, not because she trusted, but because something far worse was coming, and this thing that haunted her nightmares might be the only one who knew how to fight it. End of Part 1. Part 2, The Ones Who Erase Worlds, coming next. Part 2, The Ones Who Erase Worlds. The alien called itself Crizzle, though it said the name had no direct translation. It meant something like Watcher in Exile, a title earned by betrayal. It had spared Lyra once, and now it claimed it had come to warn her. Lyra didn't sleep that night. She sat by a dying fire outside the crash site, rifle across her knees, eyes fixed on the shadow where Crizzle knelt, silent, unmoving, as if meditating or waiting for death. It had not tried to flee. It didn't ask for mercy. Just one thing. Listen. By morning, Lyra had heard enough. "Start talking," she said. "You said they're coming again. Who are they?" Crizzle opened its inner eyelids. "We called them the Cratchel. You called them nothing, because your kind has never truly met them. You were the ones who attacked Proxima B," Lyra snapped. "No," Crizzle said. "We were the Shield. Brutal, yes, ruthless, but necessary. The Cratchel cleanse by annihilation. We were sent to soften your kind, to provoke and measure your reactions. You weren't meant to survive." Lyra's jaw clenched. So Earth's colony was just a test? Krizel nodded. But I survived. Yes, and you thrived. That's why they accelerated the next phase. What next phase? It extended a slender, three-fingered hand toward a wrist module. A hologram flickered to life. Star charts lit with red trajectories. 4 days ago, Krizel said, a Kratchuel world killer ship entered your solar system's outer edge. It moves silently. It sends no signals. It uses your sun's radiation to cloak its presence. Lyra's voice came out hoarse. Earth doesn't know. They will realize it far too late, Krizel said. That ship carries enough fire to incinerate continents. Lyra stared at the chart. Why are you telling me? Because they will not listen to me. But you, Lyra Vance, the girl who survived a massacre, the woman who tracked me across 3 sectors, you might be the one voice humanity will believe. She turned away from the firelight, watching the sun rise over the distant ridgelines. She remembered the silence after her brother's scream, the emptiness of the sky as the dropships left, the unmarked grave she had dug with her bare hands. Now they were coming to finish the job. She took a long breath. You'll come with me, to Earth. You'll testify. Show them everything. Krizel bowed its head. I will stand before them. I will answer for Proxima B. But know this, if they do not believe, you will have to decide. Decide what? If your species is worth saving. The chill in Lyra's spine had nothing to do with the wind. 1 week later, Earth orbit. Defense Command HQ. Alarms screamed. The Kratchuel ship had been spotted. Massive. Silent. Undeterred by hails or warnings. Earth's fleet scrambled, but the energy readings from the alien behemoth dwarfed anything humanity had ever seen. Inside the war room, a young general stood up. We need to fire preemptively. No, Lyra said, stepping forward. Krizel behind her. You shoot first. You doom us all. The Kratchuel don't negotiate, but they observe. We have one chance, to show them we're not the animals they expect. And if we are? Someone muttered. Lyra looked Krizel in the eye. I hunted him for 15 years. I planned to kill him for what he took from me. But now I know, he didn't take my life. He saved it. Because he believed we were more than what we seemed. She faced the generals, voice hardening. Let me talk to them. To be continued in Part 3, when the hunter spoke for Earth. Would you like the next part? Part 3, when the hunter spoke for Earth. Location, Earth's upper orbit, aboard the ESS Sentinel Prime. Time, 3 hours before Kratchuel contact. The bridge was tense. Every console flickered with energy signatures. Earth's fleet, 27 cruisers, 7 dreadnoughts, and a wall of orbital artillery, stood like a final breath before execution. The Kratchuel ship had not answered any signal. It moved like a god drifting across the sea, indifferent, inevitable. Inside the war room of the Sentinel Prime, Lyra Vance adjusted her comms headset. Her heart pounded. Her voice, once a soldier's weapon, now had to become a bridge. Beside her, Krizel stood in ceremonial posture, its cloak of black and silver fiber shifting in strange patterns. Despite the years, Lyra still didn't know whether Krizel was warrior or priest, or both. We only get one shot at this, she whispered. They will see you, Krizel replied. Let them. Lyra stepped up to the central projection table, activated the long-range hailer, and opened a direct audio-visual stream to the Kratchuel dreadnought. Nothing happened. Then the stars in the viewport dimmed. The Kratchuel vessel responded, not with words, but with a pulse of gravity that vibrated through the very hull of the ship. Crew members staggered, lights flickered, sensors crashed. And then, it answered. Not with speech, not with any known language, but with visions. Memories, images, calculated emotion. Everyone on the bridge gasped as the stream touched their minds. Wars, collapsed civilizations, 1,000 species that rose and fell, all deemed failures, all burned. The Kratchuel judged life not by longevity, but by moral development, by unity under stress, by how a species treated its own in crisis. Humanity's file was being read aloud before the galaxy. Wars, genocides, environmental collapse, betrayals, Earth's darkest hours unfolded in cruel precision, mankind's sins stacked like evidence in a galactic trial. And then, Lyra Vance appeared in the vision. 12 years old, covered in ash, clutching her brother's body, screaming into an empty sky. And then, groan, tracking Krizzle, wounded, hardened, but never breaking. Then, sparing Krizzle, choosing words over blood. The vision ended. The Cratchwell's presence remained, watching, waiting. Lyra stood up. "This is our reckoning, isn't it?" she said aloud, addressing the unseen judge. "You burn species who fail your tests. You think we're too cruel, too chaotic, too late to change, but here's what you don't see." She gestured to the crew. "We don't run from our flaws, we survive them. We drag each other through hell and make something better on the other side. We are still learning, and you don't get to erase us because we're not perfect." She looked up at the view screen. "You watched me, watched us, and you still don't understand what we are." Then, softer, "We are the storm you can't calculate. We're the child you didn't expect to fight back." Krizzle raised its head. "She has spoken." A long silence. Then, from the void, an answer. A final pulse, this time not cold, but warm, curious. The Cratchwell ship stopped. It held position above Earth, no weapons charged, no signals blocked. A single transmission came through. One word. "Observed." And then, the ship turned. It vanished into fold space, leaving only starlight in its place. 2 days later, Earth Council chambers. Lyra stood before a full chamber of humanity's leaders. For once, she wasn't armed. "The war never started," the chairwoman said, awe in her voice. "You spoke to something that doesn't speak." "How?" Lyra looked out the window. "I didn't speak for humanity, I just reminded them we are human." "And the alien?" the chairwoman asked. "Krizzle?" Lyra paused. "He asked for no reward. He only said his watch is over." Final scene, somewhere in deep space. Krizzle stood aboard a small vessel, alone, silent. A new planet slowly rotated beneath him. He reached to his console and began recording. Subject, humanity. Final observation log. They are not evolved, not yet wise, but they choose mercy. They choose it with effort, with scars, and that is the rarest kind of species. They are becoming. End transmission. The end. Would you like an epilogue or spin-off idea based on this story? Epilogue, Becoming Human. 15 years later. The children at the Unity Academy in Lagrange Habitat Alpha listened in hushed awe as their teacher finished the story. And so, the Cratchwell passed Earth by, not because we were strong, or rich, or advanced, but because we showed them something they had never seen in a species before. A small hand rose. "Miss Tala, was the hunter real? Was Lyra Vance actually a person?" The teacher smiled. "More than real. She's the reason we're still here." From the back of the classroom, a figure watched silently. He wore no insignia, no badge. His face was lined, weathered by starlight and memory. His left hand trembled slightly from an old plasma burn. He turned away before the children noticed. The man walked out into the artificial sunlight of the orbital station, where ships from dozens of species now docked peacefully. Above him, Earth spun slowly, blue, fragile, still healing. The plaque near the central tower bore a simple inscription. Lyra Vance, Hunter, Messenger, Human. We are the storm you can't calculate. Elsewhere, beyond the galactic rim, the Cratchwell observer vessel floated in perfect silence. Inside, data was still being compiled. Species 8732A, Terran. Status, monitored. Deferred. Potential, high. But in a sealed core chamber, deeper than any Cratchwell had previously allowed emotion to touch, one of the elders placed a memory node into the archive. It replayed Lyra's voice, her face, her rage, her mercy. Another elder approached. "You still think they're different?" "I do," the first replied. "We've watched galaxies fall, but in her, I saw something dangerous, something hopeful." "Will we return?" "Perhaps," the first elder said, "but not to judge. Next time, we may return to learn." The stars outside shifted, and the Cratchwell ship faded once more into dark space. Final message, found in Lyra Vance's personal log, dated 10 years after contact. "I hunted him for revenge. He showed me a truth bigger than vengeance. In the end, we are all watched by something, alien or not. But the real test? is what we become when we know we're being seen. The end. Would you like to explore a sequel where the Cratchel return, but this time, ask humanity for help against a threat even older than them? Sequel, The Stars Came Asking. Set 30 years after first Cratchel contact. Chapter 1, The Message Beneath the Ice. The research station on Europa had gone dark. Not in the usual sense, power grid failure, solar flare disruption, or a wayward asteroid strike. This was something deeper, stranger. When the emergency response team drilled through 30 meters of ice, they found the crew's bodies perfectly preserved. No signs of trauma, no panic. Each person sat calmly, as if they had simply stopped. The last transmission was one sentence, audio warped but decipherable. We opened the chamber. It is older than the stars. That same day, the Cratchel returned. Chapter 2, Earth, now a power among the stars. Lyra Vance had retired years ago. She lived in a quiet cabin on Mars, surrounded by rust-red cliffs and silence. She was a legend, though she hated the word. When the Cratchel vessel appeared in orbit, no one fired. Earth's governments scrambled. Fleets were placed on alert, but no aggression followed. A single envoy requested an audience. And it asked, by name, for Lyra Vance. Chapter 3, The Dead God Stirs. In the Cratchel archives, there are tales of something ancient, a race so powerful they once culled galaxies like gardeners trimming wild hedges. They were not gods, but dead civilizations buried them as such. The Cratchel once believed they were long gone. Until now. Until Europa. Lyra met the envoy in Earth's orbital citadel. It bowed, not as a superior, but as a petitioner. The chamber beneath your moon is a seed tomb, the envoy said, and something inside has awakened. Lyra leaned forward, her voice dry. Why not deal with it yourselves? The envoy didn't answer with pride, it answered with fear. Because we already tried once, we failed, entire armadas fell into madness. Our minds are too ordered, too rigid, we could not adapt. But you, humans, are chaos, unpredictable, emotional, adaptive. You learned mercy, you chose peace, you survived us. It looked up, eyes like stars behind glass. Now we ask you to teach us. Chapter 4, The Mission. An expedition was formed, joint crews, human, Cratchel, and others, scientists, engineers, linguists, warriors. And at its head, Lyra Vance, older, scarred, reluctant, but still human. As the Dauntless descended into Europa's frozen abyss, Lyra reread the log from the last team. We opened the chamber. It is older than the stars. But it was the Cratchel who gave her the Real warning. Do not speak to it unless it speaks first. If it knows your name, run. Chapter 5, The Whisper Below. Deep beneath the ice, the expedition reached the black stone chamber, too smooth for any tool, too dark for any light. The structure throbbed with an energy that made instruments lie and thoughts feel rearranged. Then something inside the chamber began to move. And it spoke, not with sound, but with memory. It showed Lyra her childhood, her mother's voice, her brother's laughter. Then it whispered something terrifyingly familiar. Lyra Vance, we have been watching you, longer than the others ever knew. She staggered back. The Cratchel panicked. It knows her name. Not knows, the entity said. Named. She is our tether. Lyra raised her weapon, even as her hands trembled. Whatever this thing was, it had waited, through ice and silence and time. And now, it was waking up. To be continued in Lyra Vance and the Dead Seed, or Tether of the Forgotten Ones. Would you like the full story continued, or help choosing the title for the next part? Next installment, Tether of the Forgotten Ones, Book 2 in the Watcher Saga. By request, we continue the story from where we left off. Chapter 6, The Thing That Named Her. The chamber beneath Europa pulsed with something that wasn't light, wasn't heat, but something living. Lyra stood still, surrounded by her team, Cratchel and human alike, while the voice inside her mind crawled through every memory like fingers rifling through a box marked private. We named you before your kind discovered fire. You are our tether. Crizzle, older now, slower, grasped her shoulder. Back away. It is testing boundaries. But Lyra couldn't move. Because deep in that voice, beneath the weight of ancient echoes, was something else. Familiarity. This thing, whatever it was, had seen her. Not recently, not at Proxima B, before that. Explain, she said, her voice dry and cracking. What do you mean, tether? The voice answered, each syllable dragging across her bones. We created watchers. They failed. We created enforcers. They turned. Then we made you, not as gods, as scientists, as gardeners. You were seated across a dozen planets. Terra was the last. Her blood ran cold. You're saying you made humans? No, we made the ones before you. You are what survived the collapse. Silence fell across the chamber. Then, we left this world asleep, so that one day, you might awaken us. Chapter 7, Panic and Doctrine. Back aboard the Dauntless, chaos erupted. The Cratchwell called for immediate withdrawal. One of their philosophers tried to burn himself in ritual silence. The human comm officer vomited and muttered about dreaming in languages she had never learned. Even AI cores began reporting corrupted logic loops, systems whispering strange numbers in Fibonacci spirals. But Lyra just sat in silence, staring at her gloved hand. We named you. No one knew what that meant, but she could feel it deep in her chest, like a cord vibrating across bloodlines. Something ancient had laid claim to her. And it was waking up. Chapter 8, The Sleepers. 2 days later, Lyra entered the chamber again, alone. This time, the entity spoke with clarity. You are not our tool. You are our proof. That free will can persist through chaos. That sentience can evolve after forgetting its origin. But others have not forgotten. Others remember too well. They come now to destroy what remains of us. A new star chart unfolded. Not from human systems. Not Cratchwell. From beyond. A spiral of void ships, older than dust, heading toward Sol. Krizzle entered behind her. You were right. This wasn't a vault. It's a beacon. Lyra turned to him. And I'm the key. Chapter 9, War of the Unforgotten. Earth launched diplomatic alerts. Mars locked its orbital rings. The Cratchwell offered technologies they had once hidden. For the first time in history, the entire Orion sector united under a single purpose. Stop what's coming. And they were already too late. The first of the Forgotten Ones, massive ships shaped like bone and eclipse, broke into local space. They did not respond to hails. They ignored warnings. They broadcast one message across all frequencies. You have awakened the seed. You will be reclaimed. As the fleets formed lines, Lyra stood aboard Earth's flagship. The voice from Europa echoed in her head. You can end this, but you must go to the heart. The place where your kind was first named. You must go to the Origin Star. To be continued in Origin Star, Lyra Vance and the War of Unmaking. Would you like me to begin writing Origin Star next? Or dive deeper into the lore of the Forgotten Ones and the truth behind humanity's engineered legacy? Next installment, Origin Star, Lyra Vance and the War of Unmaking. Book 3 in the Watcher Saga. Humanity faces extinction, not from what it's done, but from what it was always meant to be. Prologue, The First Scream. Before Earth knew fire, before the Cratchwell carved judgment into galaxies, the Origin Star burned in a system no map dared mark. Around it, 13 planets revolved, only one was ever touched. It was a garden world, green, teeming, perfect. Until the creators arrived. Not gods, not even conquerors. They called themselves the primogenitors, and they believed in one thing above all, control through forgetting. When they seeded the first sentient line, they buried a failsafe in its bones, a whisper, a tether, a key. Then they vanished. And they left behind the Forgotten Ones, watchers, reapers, reminders. To unmake anything that remembered too much. Chapter 1, The Call No One Wanted. Lyra stood in Earth's Council of Allied Species, her voice hoarse from war room briefings and fractured dreams. They're not coming to conquer, she said, they're coming to erase us, to reclaim a version of us they think is broken. They think we're a malfunction, Krizzle added. General Armand spoke up, then we don't fight a war, we run. Lyra slammed her fist on the table. You can't run from your own origin. She activated the hologram, the one the seed entity had burned into her skull. Coordinates far beyond explored space. This is where we started, she said, where they made us, where they named us. If we want to survive, we go there, and we find the truth before they reach us. Chapter 2, Into the Dark Spiral. The ship was named Starborn Mercy. Its crew, a mix of hand-picked humans, a cadre of Kratchual philosophers, a sentient AI who had rewritten itself 12 times in fear, and Lyra Vance, tethered to the unknowable. As they breached the edge of the known galaxy, space began to shift. Not bend, not warp, but recede. It was like the universe was making room for their passage. And the closer they got, the stranger their thoughts became. Crew remembered memories that weren't theirs. One man painted constellations he'd never seen. A Kratchual warrior began speaking in a dead Earth language, Akkadian. Something was bleeding the past into the present. Chapter 3, The Origin Star. They reached it on the 13th day. The origin star wasn't bright, it was black. Like a hole that pretended to be a star. Its light was reflected memory, not heat. The planet beneath was lifeless, yet every structure was preserved. Metallic trees, towering spires, gene vaults shaped like bones. Lyra walked among them, her breath short. It felt familiar. They found a central spire, a vault. Its door opened at her touch. Inside, a single being waited. Not living. Not dead. A memory encoded in flesh. We are the architects, it said. You were never meant to know us, but your evolution broke the seal. The forgotten ones come not to punish, but to restart. They will erase what you are, to restore what we intended. Lyra's hands shook. Why me? Why name me? Because you are the first to choose mercy in the moment designed for wrath. You are the glitch. Chapter 4, Earth's Final Choice. New saga begins, Children of the Signal, set 500 years after the War of Unmaking. A world that remembers too much, a child who remembers things that never happened, and a signal that never stopped spreading. Prologue, Echoes in the Flesh. It started with children. They were born remembering stars that no longer existed. They spoke in tongues their parents had never taught them, languages extinct for millennia. Some sketched star maps of systems that had never been charted. Others wept in their cribs for siblings who had never been born. The galaxy called it the Signal Plague. But the few who understood called it something else. Lyra's echo. Because even centuries later, the memory she unleashed had never stopped moving. Chapter 1, The Girl Who Spoke Before Birth. Her name was Alira. Born on a terraformed moon orbiting the gas giant Hekros, she came out of the womb screaming in ancient Kratchual. Not crying, screaming. The doctor who delivered her suffered a cerebral rupture moments later, his brain overwhelmed by sudden flashes of forgotten stars, lost wars, and a tower that bled light. By age 5, Alira could recite the genetic failsafes built into pre-human DNA. By age 8, she hacked a Watcher memory vault buried in the moon's crust, without ever being taught what it was. She wasn't alone. Across the stars, other Signalborn began to emerge. And with them, so did the architects. Chapter 2, The Return of the Silent Ones. The architects had not all vanished. Some had survived. They had hidden themselves in stasis vaults, waiting for the memory to spread. And now that it had taken root in this new generation, they were curious. Not about how to erase it, but how to use it. Chapter 3, Alira's Flight. When the Watcher Congress, now led by a human majority council, issued an edict to contain and study the Signalborn, Alira fled. She wasn't just remembering. She was becoming. Her dreams were bleeding into reality, rewriting matter at the quantum level, collapsing timelines, erasing fixed identity. She wasn't sure if she was human anymore. She wasn't sure she ever had been. Chapter 4, The Living Ship. In the shipyards of Icaron Delta, Alira found it. A derelict vessel older than any known design, grown, not built, silent for centuries, waiting. The moment she touched it, it woke up. Welcome, Tether, it said. It called itself Mercy's Wound. And it wasn't just alive. It remembered Lyra Vance. Chapter 5, Architects Reborn. Meanwhile, deep in the Orion Abyss, an architect remnant activated. It began assembling a fleet, not of warships, but of harvesters. designed to extract living memory. Because the architects had realized something terrifying. We do not need to create life again. We only need to extract what it becomes. Alira and others like her weren't threats. They were resources. Chapter 6: The Memory War begins. As the architect harvesters moved from system to system, extracting memory patterns from entire populations, the Watchers faltered. They had seen the fall of empires before. But this was something new. This was reverse evolution, a war not of flesh, but of self. And the only one immune to it? Alira. Because her mind wasn't her own. It was something older. And somewhere, buried deep inside her, beneath layers of identity and recursion, Lyra Vance was still watching. TOB continued. In Mercy's Wound, the Signalborn Awakening. Would you like to continue with Alira's journey aboard Mercy's Wound, or dive into the origins of the surviving architect minds?